I served my wife divorce papers at 6:47 p.m. on July 4th, 2024, exactly 14 minutes before the fireworks started and right in front of her boss's wife, who had no idea she was staring at her husband's mistress across a bowl of my mom's famous potato salad. If you got some time and maybe something to drink, settle in. This is going to take a while. So why did I wait 3 months after discovering the affair to do anything about it? Good question. Most people would have burned everything down immediately, right? Screamed, thrown shit on the lawn, called everyone they knew. But here's what I learned. Angry people make mistakes, and I wasn't going to make any mistakes. This is the story of how my 10-year marriage imploded, how I spent 93 days playing the perfect husband while planning the most calculated revenge of my life, and how one July 4th party destroyed multiple lives in the span of about 40 minutes. It's about betrayal, sure, but it's also about the long game, because some fires burn slow, but they burn everything. Let me take you back to the beginning, when I still believed in happy endings. My name is Christopher Bennett. I'm 38. I work as a financial analyst in Madison, Wisconsin, and until March of 2024, I thought I had a pretty good life. Not perfect, but good. Solid. I'd been with my wife Amanda for 12 years, married for 10. We met through mutual friends back in 2012 at one of those backyard BBQs where everyone's trying too hard to seem casual. She was funny, ambitious, knew what she wanted. I was steady, reliable, the kind of guy who shows up when he says he will. We balanced each other out, or at least I thought we did. We got married in 2014, bought a house in Madison 2 years later. It was a nice life. I made decent money. She climbed the corporate ladder at a tech consulting firm. We had the kind of relationship that looked good from the outside. Sunday morning farmers market walks, couples game nights with friends, yearly July 4th weekend at my parents' lake house up north. That tradition was sacred. Every year since we'd been together, we'd make the 2-hour drive up to northern Wisconsin, spend the long weekend with my family, grill too much food, watch the fireworks over the water. It was our thing. The cracks started forming so slowly, I almost didn't notice them. Or maybe I noticed and just didn't want to see. That's the thing about betrayal. The signs are always there. You just have to decide whether you're brave enough to look at them. Fall of 2023. Amanda got promoted to senior marketing manager. Big deal, good raise, more responsibility. I was happy for her, genuinely. But the promotion came with a new boss, Richard Hawthorne, VP of Marketing, 42, the kind of guy whose LinkedIn headshot screams, "I go to leadership seminars." Amanda started talking about him constantly. Richard said this, Richard thinks that, Richard wants us to pivot strategy. At first, I thought it was just new job enthusiasm. She'd worked hard for that promotion. She deserved to be excited. But then other things started changing. She joined a gym in November, suddenly cared about designer workout clothes. She bought expensive lingerie I never saw her wear. She started working late, 3-4 nights a week. When I'd text asking when she'd be home, she'd send one-word replies. Soon. Busy. Don't wait up. Our sex life disappeared. Like, completely. She was always too tired, too stressed, had a headache, had an early meeting. By Christmas, we'd gone 2 months without touching each other. I told myself it was the new job pressure. I told myself she was just overwhelmed. I told myself a lot of things that were complete bullshit. The holidays were weird. Amanda insisted on going to her company Christmas party alone. "Spouses make it awkward," she said. "It's more professional without you there." I let it slide, because I hate those things anyway. But looking back, that was the first time I felt something in my gut twist. Like, my body knew before my brain did. January 2024, she started staying downtown after late client dinners. I'd find hotel charges on our joint credit card, expensive ones. The Marriott, the Hilton, places that cost $300 a night. When I asked about it, she'd get defensive. "It's easier than driving home at midnight. God, do you want me to risk falling asleep at the wheel?" And I'd back down because I didn't want to be that guy, you know? The insecure, controlling husband who questions everything. Valentine's Day, she forgot. Completely forgot. Came home at 9 p.m., saw the dinner I'd made sitting cold on the table, and went pale. 2 days later, she bought me an expensive watch, like a $900 watch. I remember thinking, this is a guilt gift. But I pushed the thought away because acknowledging it meant acknowledging everything else. Then came March. Early March, I had a work trip to Chicago. 3 days of conferences, boring as hell. The second day, my flight got canceled because of storms. Instead of staying another night, I grabbed a train back to Madison, got home around 8 p.m. I figured I'd surprise Amanda. Maybe we'd order takeout, watch something, pretend we were still a normal couple. I walked in the house and heard her voice upstairs in our bedroom. She was on the phone, and I could hear it from the landing. Not the words, but the tone. Soft, intimate. The way you talk to someone who isn't just a work colleague. I stood there for maybe 30 seconds, and then the floorboard creaked under my foot. Her voice cut off immediately. By the time I got to the bedroom, she was off the phone, sitting on the bed, flushed and flustered. "You're home early," she said. "Flight canceled. Who were you talking to?" "Work emergency. It's handled now." But here's the thing. She was wearing the expensive lingerie. The stuff I'd never seen her wear. And it was a random Tuesday night at 8 p.m. I looked at her, and for the first time in our 12 years together, I knew she was lying. I knew it in my bones. She must have seen it on my face, because she went on the offensive immediately. Started accusing me of not trusting her, of being paranoid, of suffocating her with my insecurity. We had a massive fight. She stormed out, said she was going to the gym to clear her head. At 9 p.m. on a Tuesday. She didn't come back until after midnight. I spent those hours sitting on our couch, staring at the wall, feeling something fundamental shift inside me. But I still didn't have proof, and without proof, I was just the suspicious husband making accusations. So I did nothing. I apologized the next day. We moved on, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. 2 weeks later, on March 18th, everything changed. It was a Monday morning. Amanda left for work early, some big meeting she'd mentioned. I was working from home that day. Around 10 a.m., I went upstairs to grab my phone charger from the bedroom and saw her iPad sitting on the nightstand. She never left it behind. Amanda was attached to that thing like it was a vital organ. But there it was, screen dark, forgotten. I walked past it. Made it all the way to the door. Then I heard the notification sound, that little chime, and I turned around. The screen lit up with an iMessage preview. "Miss you already. Last night was incredible. R." I stood there for probably a full minute just staring at those words. My brain was trying to make them mean something else, anything else. A client named Robert, maybe. A typo, a message meant for someone else. But I knew. In that moment, I knew everything. We shared an Apple ID family account for years, one of those things you set up and forget about, which meant her messages synced to that iPad. I picked it up with shaking hands, unlocked it with her passcode, our anniversary, how fucking poetic, and opened iMessages. The contact was saved as Rebecca, gym friend. There were hundreds of messages. I called in sick to work, locked myself in the bedroom and spent the next 6 hours reading through my wife's affair. Every text, every photo, every hotel confirmation, every lie she'd fed me while planning a whole separate life. The affair had started in October 2023, right after Richard became her boss. The early texts were cautious, flirty, testing boundaries. By November, they were sleeping together. By December, they were in love. By February, they were planning their future together after they both left their marriages. I read messages where Amanda called me boring, predictable, dead weight. Messages where Richard called his wife Claire a nagging burden and his kids obligations. I saw explicit photos they'd sent each other. I found hotel receipts in her email. 17 hotel stays between October and March. 17 times she'd told me she was working late and was actually fucking her boss. The worst text, the one that made me actually vomit into our bedroom trash can, was from Valentine's Day. The day she forgot about our anniversary. Amanda to Richard. Can't wait until you leave him. We'll do this right. Richard to Amanda. Soon, baby, I promise. After I get the promotion locked in, we'll tell everyone. Be patient. I sat on the floor of our bedroom for I don't know how long. Just sat there, numb. At some point, the sun started setting. I heard Amanda's car in the driveway. I heard the front door open. I heard her call out, "Chris, you home?" And something in me went ice cold. I got up, washed my face, took a deep breath, and went downstairs. "Hey," I said. "How was your day?" She smiled. That same smile I'd fallen in love with 12 years ago. Long, exhausting. What's for dinner? And I realized, she's not going to tell me. She's going to keep lying. She's going to keep looking me in the eye and acting like I'm the idiot who doesn't know any better. So I made a decision right there. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. Because angry, hurt people make stupid moves. They scream, they rage, they give away their position before they've secured their advantage. I'd worked in finance long enough to know the person with the most information wins. Over the next 3 days, I went from heartbroken husband to something else entirely. Something colder, more calculated. I took screenshots of every message on that iPad, every single one. Backed them up to a separate cloud account she didn't have access to. I went through her email and found all the hotel receipts, saved those too. I found credit card statements showing charges at expensive restaurants on nights she'd told me she was working late. I documented everything. On March 25th, I did something I'm not proud of, but I'm not apologizing for either. I used our family Find My iPhone feature and checked her location during one of her late meetings. The little blue dot was at the downtown Marriott. I drove there, parked across the street, and waited. At 9:47 p.m., I watched through the hotel bar's window as my wife and Richard Hawthorne sat in a corner booth. His hand was on her thigh. They were laughing, and then they kissed. Not a peck. A real kiss. The kind that makes other people uncomfortable. I took photos. Time-stamped, geotagged photos. Then I watched them walk to the elevator together, his hand on the small of her back, her leaning into him like they'd done this 1,000 times, which I guess they had. I sat in that parking lot until 3 in the morning, couldn't bring myself to drive home. Eventually, I drove to the lakefront, this random public beach on the other side of Madison, and just parked there in the dark. That's when it hit me. Not the betrayal itself. I'd already processed that. But the scale of it. 10 years of marriage, 12 years together, and she'd thrown it away for a middle-aged VP with a receding hairline and a wife and 2 kids at home. She'd lied to me every single day for 5 months, looked me in the eye and told me she loved me while planning her exit strategy with another man. I cried, I'm not going to pretend I didn't. I sat in my car at that empty beach and sobbed like I hadn't since I was a kid. Then I threw up in the parking lot. Then I just sat there, shaking, trying to figure out who the hell I was now. Because the person I'd been died in that hotel parking lot. The trusting husband, the conflict-avoidant guy who gave people the benefit of the doubt. He was gone. The man sitting at that beach at 4 in the morning was someone else. Someone who understood that nice guys don't finish last because they're nice. They finish last because they don't know when to stop being nice. March 29th was a Friday. Amanda told me she was going to a team-building retreat weekend with her department. Very important, couldn't miss it. Would be back Sunday night. She packed a bag, kissed me on the cheek, told me not to wait up. I checked her location. Downtown Marriott. Again. I didn't go there this time. Didn't need to. I knew what was happening. Instead, I spent that weekend researching divorce attorneys, reading Wisconsin divorce law at 2 in the morning, learning about asset division, about how adultery affects settlements in no-fault states, about dissipation of marital assets. And I started planning. Saturday morning, Amanda came home around 11, full of stories about trust falls and team activities. She was glowing, energized in a way I hadn't seen in months, because she'd spent the weekend fucking her boss in a hotel room, and I was expected to smile and nod and ask how her fake retreat went. I smiled, I nodded, I asked questions, and inside, I was already 10 moves ahead. "How was it?" I said. "Exhausting but good. Really brought the team together." "That's great, babe. I'm glad." She went upstairs to shower. I sat on the couch and thought, I can do this. I can play this part. I can be patient. Because the old Christopher would have confronted her right there, would have screamed and cried and demanded answers. But the old Christopher was dead. The new Christopher understood something fundamental about revenge. It's not about the explosion. It's about the setup. I gave myself 1 weekend to grieve. Sunday night, March 31st, I let myself fall apart one last time. Cried in the shower until the water ran cold. Punched the bedroom wall hard enough to bruise my knuckles. Let myself feel every ounce of rage and humiliation and loss. And then, Monday morning, April 1st, I got to work. First stop, Patricia Morrison, attorney at law, specialist in high-asset divorce cases. I found her through a colleague who'd gone through a rough separation. Made an appointment, took a sick day. Drove to her office, in a building I'd driven past 1,000 times but never noticed. Patricia was 50-ish, sharp-eyed, the kind of woman who'd seen every marital horror story and stopped being surprised years ago. I sat in her office and showed her everything. The messages, the photos, the hotel receipts, the timeline. She looked at me over her reading glasses. "How long have you known?" 2 weeks. "And you haven't confronted her?" "No." "Smart." She leaned back in her chair. "Wisconsin's a no-fault divorce state, but adultery still matters for asset division. The more evidence you have, the better your position. What's your goal here?" "I want out. Clean break. And I want her to face consequences." "Define consequences." "I want everyone to know what she did. Her family, my family, our friends. I want her to lose the life she thought she was going to have." Patricia didn't blink. "I can help with the divorce. The public humiliation part, that's on you. But I'll tell you this. The more calculated you are, the better you'll do in the settlement. Don't do anything stupid." "I won't. When do you want to file?" "Not yet. I need time to prepare." She nodded. "Take your time. Document everything. And when you're ready, we'll move fast." I retained her that day. Paid the retainer from my individual checking account. Amanda never noticed, because she'd stopped paying attention to me months ago. Next, I hired a forensic accountant. Guy named Derek, recommended by Patricia. Gave him access to our joint accounts, credit cards, everything. Told him to look for anything suspicious. He called me 3 days later. "Your wife has a separate checking account you're not listed on. She's been transferring money there for 6 months. We're talking about $23,000. $23,000 of our marital assets, siphoned off to an account I didn't know existed. Probably her start a new life with Richard fund." "Can we prove that in court?" I asked. "Absolutely." "Good. Keep digging." I started redirecting my direct deposit to a new individual account. Quietly removing Amanda as beneficiary on my life insurance and 401k. It's legal before you file for divorce, and I wanted to make sure she couldn't access anything when this went nuclear. Meanwhile, I kept monitoring her messages. Couldn't help myself. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion. By mid-April, Amanda and Richard were planning their future in explicit detail. Where they'd live, how they'd tell everyone, when Richard would finally leave Claire. And then I saw the message that gave me the final piece of the puzzle. April 20th, Amanda to Richard. "Let's just enjoy the lake house party. Then after we can finally stop hiding. I'm so tired of sneaking around." Richard to Amanda. "I know, baby. Me too. Just a few more months and we're free. I'll tell Claire after the 4th, I promise." They'd picked their own execution date. July 4th weekend, my family's sacred tradition. They were going to enjoy one last party, playing their parts, and then blow up both marriages. I started laughing when I read that. Just sitting at my desk, laughing like a crazy person, because they'd given me the perfect opportunity. I opened individual therapy in mid-April, told Amanda I was working on myself and dealing with work stress. She barely looked up from her phone. "That's great, babe. Really healthy." The therapy was partly cover, partly genuine. I needed to process this without exploding. My therapist, Dr. Sarah Chen, was good. Didn't judge, didn't try to talk me out of what I was planning. "You understand there will be collateral damage," she said during our third session. "I know. Richard has children. His wife doesn't deserve this. She deserves to know the truth. And you're okay with being the one who tells her." I looked at Dr. Chen for a long moment. "He's been lying to her for 8 months. Amanda's been lying to me for the same. Someone needs to stop the lying. Revenge won't heal you." "No," I said, "but it'll give me enough space to start healing." She didn't argue. By May, I'd done my homework. Found Richard Hawthorne on LinkedIn. Smug corporate headshot, posts about authentic leadership and building trust. The irony was almost funny. His profile listed his wife, Claire Hawthorne. I found her on Facebook. Profile wasn't locked down. Photos of her with 2 kids, Emma and Lucas, ages 8 and 6. Normal suburban family. Mom volunteer at school. Kids in soccer and piano. I looked at Claire's photos for a long time. She looked nice, genuinely nice. The kind of mom who made homemade Halloween costumes and coached t-ball. And her husband was fucking my wife in hotel rooms while she thought he was working late. Part of me felt guilty for what I was about to do to her. But a bigger part thought, she deserves to know. Those kids deserve to know their father for who he really is before they're old enough to be completely destroyed by it. In May, Amanda brought up the July 4th party. We were having dinner, one of those weird performances we'd been doing for months where we pretended to be a normal couple. "So, I was thinking," she said, pushing food around her plate. "Maybe we should make this year's 4th a big one. It's our 10-year anniversary. Invite more people. Really celebrate." I almost laughed. She wanted a bigger audience for her grand finale. "Sure," I said. "The more the merrier." "Great. And..." She paused, trying to sound casual. "Would you mind if I invited a few people from work? Richard mentioned he might want to come, get to know the team better outside the office." There it was. She wanted Richard at the lake house, wanted him there with me, with my family, playing the role of the colleague while they counted down to their big reveal. I looked at her across the table. She couldn't even meet my eyes. "Of course," I said. "Invite whoever you want." Her relief was visible. "Thanks, babe. You're the best. The best. I was the best." Early June, I made my move, created a generic Facebook profile. Stupid name, stock photo. Made it look like a normal person. Friended Claire Hawthorne. She accepted within a day. I waited a week, then sent her a message from my real account. "Hi Claire, I'm Christopher Bennett. Your husband Richard works with my wife Amanda. We're hosting a family-friendly July 4th party at our lake house in northern Wisconsin, and would love to have your family. Beautiful setting, lots of kids' activities. Great for the whole family. Amanda mentioned Richard might come, but we'd love to meet you and the kids too. Let me know if you're interested." I held my breath for 3 days. Then Claire responded, "That sounds wonderful." Richard mentioned a work event but didn't say families were invited. The kids would absolutely love a lake weekend. Thank you so much for thinking of us. Checkmate. I wrote back. Perfect. Can't wait to meet you all. I'll send details closer to the date. I sat there staring at that message exchange for probably an hour. The trap was set. All I had to do was wait for them to walk into it. Late June, I finalized everything with Patricia. Divorce papers drawn up, ready to be served. Evidence folders, prepared. Flash drives with every message, every photo, every receipt. 2 copies. One for me, one for Claire. I rehearsed in my head how it would go. Every scenario. Every possible reaction. Amanda would cry, probably. Richard would try to take control, manage the situation like it was a business meeting. Claire would be confused first, then devastated. My family would be shocked, but it had to be done this way. Public, undeniable. No room for them to spin the story, to make excuses, to minimize. The week before, July 4th, I barely slept. Amanda was getting nervous too, but for different reasons. She'd check her phone constantly, texting Richard when she thought I wasn't looking, making plans, packing for the lake house like it was any other year. July 2nd, I saw her final message to Richard. "Can't wait for the party, then we can start our real life together." I took a screenshot, added it to the folder. Then I went upstairs and packed my own bag, divorce papers in the car, flash drives in my pocket. 3 months of planning about to pay off. July 4th, 2024, the day I'd been waiting for. I woke up at 6:30. Amanda was still asleep next to me. I looked at her for a minute, wondering if I'd feel something. Sadness, maybe. Loss. But I felt nothing. Just cold, clear purpose. I got up, got dressed, loaded my car, reviewed the plan one more time. Everything was in place. I drove to the lake house early. 2-hour drive, beautiful morning. I put on a podcast about financial planning and tried to keep my hands from shaking on the steering wheel. My parents were already there when I arrived around 9. Mom in the kitchen prepping food. Dad setting up the grill outside. Normal. Everything looked so normal. "Where's Amanda?" Mom asked. "Coming later. She had to grab some things." "Everything okay with you too?" I looked at my mom. She'd known something was off for months but hadn't pushed. "It will be," I said. "After today." She studied my face. "Christopher." "It's fine, Mom, really." But she knew. Mothers always know. Guests started arriving around 11. Aunts, uncles, cousins, family, friends. Maybe 30 people total by noon. Normal July 4th party. Kids in the pool, adults drinking beer, Dad manning the grill. Americana in all its glory. Amanda pulled up at 12:30. I watched her get out of her car, smooth her sundress, put on her sunglasses. She looked beautiful. She always looked beautiful. That was never the problem. She kissed me on the cheek. "Sorry I'm late. Traffic." "No problem." "Has Richard arrived yet?" "Not yet." She checked her phone. "He said he'd be here by 1. I nodded. Didn't tell her who else was arriving around 3. Richard showed up at 1:15, pulled up in a BMW wearing designer casual clothes that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. He shook my hand, like we were friends. "Christopher, thanks for having me. Beautiful place." "Thanks for coming." I watched him and Amanda try to act normal around each other. They were terrible at it. He'd touch her arm, accidentally. She'd laugh too hard at his jokes. My dad noticed. My cousin noticed. I saw them exchanging glances. The afternoon dragged on. I checked my phone every 10 minutes. At 2:45, Claire texted, "Just turning onto your road, can't wait to see the lake." My heart started pounding. This was it. I positioned myself at the driveway, watched Amanda and Richard standing by the drinks table, thinking they were smooth, thinking they'd gotten away with it. At exactly 3 p.m., a blue minivan pulled into the driveway. Claire Hawthorne got out first. Early 40s, blonde, wearing a sensible mom outfit. She saw me and waved, genuinely happy. Then Emma and Lucas tumbled out of the back seat, already excited about the pool. I walked over. "Claire, so glad you made it. Thank you so much for inviting us. This place is gorgeous. Let me introduce you to everyone." I took her casserole dish,
She'd brought a casserole dish because of course she had, and walked her toward the backyard, toward where Amanda and Richard were standing. I saw the moment Amanda spotted Claire. She froze, drink halfway to her mouth. Her face went white. I saw Richard turn, see his wife, and literally stumble backward into the drinks table. "Claire," I said loudly, making sure everyone could hear. "This is my wife, Amanda. Amanda, this is Claire Hawthorne. I believe you know her through Richard's work." Amanda's voice came out strangled. "Hi, yes, What are you doing here?" Claire looked confused. "Christopher invited us. Richard said he was coming to a work thing, but this is so much nicer." "Where is Richard anyway?" Richard appeared from behind a cluster of people, trying to smile, failing completely. "Claire, honey, I can explain." "Explain what?" Claire's confusion was shifting to concern. "Richard, you look like you've seen a ghost." My dad was watching now. My mom had stopped mid-conversation. My cousin Sarah was literally standing there with her mouth open. I kept my voice calm. "Why don't we all go inside, somewhere private to talk?" Amanda's voice was shrill now. "Chris, what the fuck are you doing?" That got everyone's attention. Kids stopped playing. Adults stopped talking. Suddenly, everyone was watching. "I'm done lying," I said, still calm. "Are you?" I walked toward the house. Claire, Amanda, Richard. "Inside, now." We went to the screened porch, the one that overlooks the lake. 15 feet from where 30 people were now watching us with undisguised curiosity. Private enough for the conversation. Public enough that everyone would hear the aftermath. Claire's face was cycling through emotions. "Someone tell me what's going on." I pulled the flash drive from my pocket, handed it to Claire. "This has text messages between your husband and my wife. 8 months worth, hotel receipts, photos, everything." "What?" Claire's voice was barely a whisper. "What are you talking about?" Amanda lunged toward me. "You fucking psycho!" I cut her off. "I found out in March. I've been documenting everything since then. Every hotel stay, every lie, every time you told me you loved me while you were planning to leave me for him." Richard tried to take control. Corporate voice, calm and rational. "Chris, this isn't the time or place." "You're absolutely right," I said. "The appropriate time was probably before you fucked my wife 17 times in various hotel rooms. But here we are." Claire was shaking. Actually shaking. "Richard, tell me this isn't true." Richard didn't say anything. Just stood there, defeated. Amanda was crying now. "Chris, we can talk about this privately. This is insane." "No," I said. "We're way past private, Amanda. You wanted to announce your new relationship after this party. I just moved up the timeline." I turned to Claire. My voice softened. "I'm sorry you have to find out this way, I really am. But you deserve to know the truth. So do your kids." Claire fumbled with the laptop I'd set up on the porch table. Inserted the flash drive with shaking hands. Started reading the messages. Her face went through every stage of grief in about 90 seconds. "Miss you. Can't wait to leave him. You're everything he's not." She was reading out loud, voice breaking. "You told me you were working late. You told me the hotel charges were client dinners. You told me I was paranoid for asking questions." "Claire, please." Richard tried. "I'll explain everything." "You don't get to explain." Claire's voice cracked. "You've been lying to me for 8 months, while I was taking care of your children. While I was—" She couldn't finish. I pulled out the divorce papers, handed them to Amanda. "These are divorce papers. I'm filing on grounds of adultery. You can sign them now or later, but you will sign them." Amanda was full-on sobbing. "You planned this. You're doing this here, in front of everyone." You planned to destroy our marriage in secret for 8 months. I'm just bringing it into the light. My dad appeared at the porch door. Is everything all right? No, I said. Amanda and I are getting divorced. Richard needs to leave immediately. Amanda screamed. You destroyed everything. How could you do this? I looked at her for a long moment. I destroyed nothing. You did that yourself. I just stopped pretending I didn't know. Claire was gathering her kids. Lucas was asking why Mommy was crying. Emma was scared, picking up on the adult panic. Richard, don't come home. Don't call. Don't contact me. I'm calling my brother. He's an attorney. You'll hear from him. Claire, please, we can work through this. Work through this? Claire's laugh was bitter. You had an affair with your employee for 8 months. You lied to me every single day. There's nothing to work through. We're done. She herded her kids toward the front door. I followed her. Claire, I'm so sorry. She turned back, tears streaming down her face. Don't apologize. You did what you had to do. I just wish... She looked at her kids. I wish it didn't have to be like this. I know. She left. Minivan pulling out of the driveway, kids confused and crying in the back seat. I felt sick. Dr. Chen was right. Collateral damage. Richard tried to follow them, but Amanda grabbed his arm. You're leaving too. You're just going to leave me here. Richard looked at her like she was insane. Claire has the kids, Amanda. I have to... You promised me, Amanda said. You said we'd do this together. You said... It's over, Richard said. Flat, final. This whole thing is over. He walked out. Didn't look back. Within 15 minutes he was gone, leaving Amanda sobbing on my parents' porch. I walked back outside. Everyone was staring. I took a breath. Amanda and I are separating. Richard Hawthorne is not welcome here. I'm sorry for the disruption. Please, everyone, enjoy the food. Dead silence. Then my mom came over, hugged me hard. My dad's hand on my shoulder. Cousin Sarah crying. Uncle Mike saying something about, good for you, kid. Amanda eventually locked herself in the upstairs bathroom. I could hear her crying through the door. I didn't care. At 6:47 p.m., I remember checking the time. I heard the bathroom door open. Amanda came downstairs with her purse and keys. Her face was destroyed, makeup smeared, eyes swollen. She looked at me. I hope you're happy. I'm not, I said, but I'm done being lied to. She left. Drove back to Madison. I stood in the driveway and watched her taillights disappear. At 7:01 p.m., the fireworks started. I walked down to the dock with my dad, sat there watching explosions of color over the lake. The same lake where I'd spent every July 4th since I was a kid. The same place where I'd proposed to Amanda 10 years ago. You okay? Dad asked. I will be. That was brutal. It needed to be. He nodded, didn't judge, just sat there with me while the fireworks exploded overhead and my marriage burned down behind us. I'd done it. I'd burned it all down. And I didn't feel bad about it. But I didn't feel good either. The next few weeks were a blur of legal proceedings and social fallout. Turns out public humiliation creates a lot of complicated consequences. Amanda moved in with her friend Jessica initially. Jessica was sympathetic until she heard the full story, saw the evidence. Then she asked Amanda to leave. Amanda ended up in a studio apartment on the other side of Madison, paying twice what she should because she had to find a place fast. Our mutual friend group imploded. We'd had this tight crew for years, 4 couples who did everything together. Game nights, vacations, holidays. After July 4th, it fractured into pieces. 3 couples sided with me after I showed them the evidence. 2 tried to stay neutral, which really meant ghosting both of us. 1 couple, Sarah and Mark, sided with Amanda. Said I'd gone too far with the public humiliation. I lost them and didn't miss them. Amanda's family split too. Her mother called me furious. You humiliated my daughter in front of everyone. You could have handled this privately. She humiliated herself, I said. I just made sure everyone knew about it. But Amanda's dad and brother reached out separately, apologized for her behavior, said they understood why I did it. Her brother even sent me a text. She made her choice. Sorry you got caught in the crossfire. The family group chat that had existed for 6 years went completely silent. Then someone created a new one without Amanda. Then another one without me. The whole social architecture of our lives just collapsed. At Amanda's work, word spread fast. Office gossip moves at light speed, and when your boss is sleeping with his direct report, everyone wants to know the details. HR launched an investigation within a week. Richard Hawthorne, VP of Marketing, having an affair with Amanda Bennett, Senior Marketing Manager, who reported directly to him. Clear ethics violation, clear breach of company policy, clear abuse of power dynamics. Richard was fired by the end of July. Not laid off, not resigned to pursue other opportunities. Fired. His LinkedIn went from smug corporate headshots to open to opportunities within a week. And in their industry, word spreads. The tech consulting world in Madison is small. Everyone knows everyone. Richard was effectively blacklisted. Amanda got reassigned. Demoted, really, though HR called it lateral movement to maintain professional boundaries. She lost her senior title, her team, her corner office. Moved to a different department doing grunt work, making $20,000 less a year. All the ladder climbing she'd done, all the sacrifices she'd made for that promotion, gone. Her colleagues stopped talking to her. The ones who'd been friendly went cold. The ones who'd been professional went actively hostile. She'd violated the unspoken rule. You don't fuck your married boss. It makes everyone uncomfortable and ruins careers. By August, she was barely holding on at that job. Came in early. Left late, kept her head down. But the damage was done. Richard's personal life imploded even faster. Claire filed for divorce within 2 weeks. Her brother, the attorney, made it as brutal as possible. Full custody of the kids, maximum alimony, maximum child support. Richard got supervised visitation only. Claire argued successfully that a father who'd lied to his wife for 8 months wasn't trustworthy with children. Richard's relationship with Emma and Lucas was destroyed. They didn't understand why Daddy wasn't living at home anymore, why Mommy cried all the time, why their life had been blown apart. Claire was smart enough not to tell them the details. They were 8 and 6, but kids aren't stupid. They knew something bad had happened. They knew Daddy had done something wrong. I heard through the grapevine that Richard had a panic attack during a job interview in late August. Full-on breakdown, had to leave mid-interview, ended up in the ER. The stress of losing everything, job, family, reputation, income, finally caught up with him, and I felt complicated about it. Part of me thought, good. You destroyed your family for an affair. You lied to your wife, your kids, your employer. You deserve to suffer. But another part, the part Dr. Chen kept poking at in therapy, wondered if I'd gone too far, if inviting Claire to that party had been justice or cruelty, if I'd collateral damaged 2 kids who didn't ask for any of this. Those kids didn't deserve this, I said to Dr. Chen in early September. No, she agreed. They didn't. But they deserved to know the truth about their father. Did they, at 8 and 6? I didn't have an answer for that. Claire deserved to know, I said finally. Whether it was at a party or in a lawyer's office, she deserved the truth. I agree. The question is whether you feel guilty about how it happened. Sometimes, I admitted. Late at night, yeah. I think about those kids. I think about Claire's face when she read those messages. And I'd still do it. Maybe not exactly the same way, but they needed consequences. Amanda and Richard spent 8 months lying, planning, disrespecting everyone who loved them. Someone had to stop the lying. Dr. Chen nodded. Didn't tell me I was right or wrong, just helped me sit with the complexity of it. Amanda tried to reach out multiple times in August. Texts, emails even showed up at the house once. I had her blocked on everything, so the messages went to a folder I checked once a week for legal purposes. One email in late August stood out. Hey, Chris, I know I hurt you. I know what I did was wrong, but you didn't have to destroy me. We could have handled this privately. We could have been adults about it. Instead, you humiliated me in front of everyone who matters to me. You turned my family against me. You ruined my career. You made sure everyone I know sees me as the villain. Was that really necessary? I made a mistake, but I'm still a person. I'm still the woman you spent 12 years with. I deserved better than this. I read it 3 times. Then I saved it to the divorce evidence folder and didn't respond. Because here's the thing. Amanda wasn't sorry she'd cheated. She was sorry she'd been caught. She was sorry she'd faced consequences. The email wasn't an apology. It was a complaint that I hadn't let her get away with it quietly. The divorce proceedings moved fast. Wisconsin has a 6-month waiting period normally, but with the amount of evidence I had, Patricia pushed for expedited processing. By September, we were done. I kept the house. Amanda had to pay back half of the $23,000 she'd hidden in her separate account. Asset division favored me because of the adultery and financial hiding. Amanda walked away with less than she would have if she'd just been honest. Clean break, no alimony because we'd both been working, no kids to fight over custody, just the end of a 12-year relationship, reduced to legal documents and signatures. In October, something shifted. I woke up one day and realized I hadn't thought about Amanda in almost 24 hours, hadn't checked her social media, hadn't wondered what she was doing, hadn't felt that familiar spike of anger. I mentioned it to Dr. Chen. "That's progress," she said. "Is it? Feels weird. You're moving from anger to indifference. That's the final stage. I thought I'd feel more vindicated, satisfied. Revenge rarely feels the way we think it will." Then what was the point? "Justice," she said. "You got justice. Now you're learning that justice and healing are different things." That hit hard, because she was right. The revenge had given me justice, had made Amanda and Richard face consequences, had ended the lying. But it hadn't healed the wound. That was separate work, harder work. I got promoted at work in October, director of financial analysis. Big raise, better office, more responsibility. My boss had known about the divorce, had been supportive. "You've been doing director-level work for 2 years anyway," he said. "About time we made it official." The promotion felt good, like I was building something new instead of just burning down something old. I reconnected with friends from college who I'd lost touch with during the marriage. Guys I used to play basketball with, grab beers with, stay up too late talking about nothing with. We started a group chat, met up a few times. It felt like finding a part of myself I'd forgotten existed. I joined a recreational basketball league. Hadn't played in years. Amanda had always complained about the time commitment. But now I had all the time in the world. Turns out I was rusty as hell. But it didn't matter. It felt good to move, to sweat, to focus on something other than legal documents and revenge plans. Thanksgiving, I hosted at the lake house. Just family this time. My parents, my sister and her husband, my cousin Sarah and her kids. Small, intimate. We didn't talk about Amanda, didn't talk about July 4th. Just had a normal holiday. My dad gave a toast before dinner. To new chapters, to knowing your worth, to family that shows up. We clinked glasses. I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Gratitude. After dinner, Mom pulled me aside. "How are you really doing?" "Better," I said, and I meant it. "You seem lighter." "I feel lighter. I'm proud of you. Not for what you did in July, that was your choice to make, but for how you're handling the aftermath. I had a lot of help. Still, you could have let this destroy you. You didn't. December came, holiday season. Last year at this time, I'd been slowly realizing my marriage was falling apart but still in denial. This year, I was single, living alone, rebuilding. A friend invited me to a holiday party. I almost didn't go. Parties felt complicated now, loaded with questions about Amanda and the divorce. But I forced myself. That's where I met Lauren. She was 34, an architect, funny in a low-key way. We ended up talking by the drinks table for an hour about nothing important. Building codes and zoning laws and why Wisconsin winters were both beautiful and miserable. She asked for my number. I gave it to her, surprised by how easy it felt. We texted for a week, then met for coffee, then dinner, then a movie. By January, we were seeing each other regularly, though we both agreed to take it slow. Lauren knew about the divorce. I'd been honest from the start. My ex-wife cheated with her boss. I found out, planned revenge, served divorce papers at a family party. It was dramatic and messy, and I don't regret it, but I'm still processing. She looked at me for a long moment. That's a lot. It is. Are you over her? I'm over the anger. I'm working on the rest. Fair enough. Lauren didn't judge, didn't try to fix me. Just existed alongside me while I figured my shit out. It was the healthiest thing that had happened to me in years. In January 2025, I did something symbolic. Cleaned out the house completely of anything related to Amanda. Old wedding photos, her leftover clothes, kitchen gadgets she'd picked out. Packed it all up. Some I donated, some I threw away. A few sentimental things I put in a box in the attic. Not because I wanted them, but because throwing them away felt too final. The house felt different after. Lighter. Like it was actually mine now, not the ghost of a marriage. I redecorated. Nothing major. Painted the bedroom a different color, bought a new couch, hung different art. Small changes that made the space feel new. Dr. Chen noticed. You're nesting. Is that what this is? You're building a home for yourself instead of living in the remains of what you had. That's healthy. February. Lauren and I made it official. Started calling each other boyfriend and girlfriend, which felt simultaneously juvenile and meaningful. She met my parents. They liked her. She was different from Amanda. Quieter, more grounded, less ambitious in the climbing corporate ladder's way. More interested in making things beautiful than making more money. She's good for you, Mom said after Lauren left from Sunday dinner. Yeah, I said. She is. March 2025. I got an update through a mutual acquaintance. Amanda was still in Madison, still at her job, dating someone new, trying to rebuild her reputation, though it was slow going. People have long memories. Richard had moved to Arizona, remarried already. Some woman he'd met at a networking event when married within 4 months. Red flags everywhere, but not my problem. His kids barely talked to him. Claire was thriving, from what I heard. Went back to school, started a new career, had a new partner who treated her right. And me? I was here, March 2025, 1 year after I'd found those messages on Amanda's iPad, 1 year since my life imploded. I thought about the last 12 months a lot. The discovery, the planning, the execution, the fallout, all of it. People ask if I regret it, if I'd do it differently. Honest answer? Some days, yes. I think about Claire's kids in therapy. I think about the panic attack that landed Richard in the ER. I think about my family's July 4th tradition, being permanently tainted by what happened. But most days, no, I don't regret it. Amanda and Richard made their choices. Every day for 8 months, they chose to lie. They chose to betray their partners, their families, their vows. They chose to plan their future together while pretending to be faithful. They chose all of that. I just chose to stop enabling it. Did I go nuclear? Absolutely. But they'd spent 8 months building the bomb. I just lit the fuse. The thing about revenge is that it doesn't heal you. Dr. Chen was right about that. The satisfaction of watching them face consequences was real. But it wasn't the same as healing. That took therapy, time, hard work on myself, admitting my own flaws and failures. I'd ignored red flags for months. I'd been conflict avoidant to the point of self-destruction. I'd tied my self-worth to making Amanda happy instead of having my own boundaries and standards. Those were my failures. The affair wasn't my fault, but my response to the warning signs was my responsibility. I'd learned that, slowly, painfully, but I'd learned it. Now it's April 2025, spring in Wisconsin, which is basically mud season with occasional sunshine. I'm sitting on my back porch, my porch now, not ours, watching the snow melt and thinking about July. This July 4th, I'm hosting again at the lake house. Small gathering. My parents, Lauren, a few close friends. Reclaiming the tradition. Making new memories in a place that almost got destroyed by old ones. I don't think about Amanda much anymore. When I do, it's not with anger or satisfaction or even sadness. It's just indifference. She's someone I used to know. Someone who hurt me badly. Someone who faced consequences for her choices. And then I moved on. That's the part that surprised me. I thought I'd carry the anger forever. Thought I'd be bitter and damaged and unable to trust again. But here I am, dating someone wonderful, thriving at work, rebuilding friendships, hosting lake house parties. Here I am 1 year later, actually okay. The revenge gave me justice. The therapy gave me insight. The time gave me healing, and the work, the hard, uncomfortable work of looking at myself honestly, gave me growth. I'm not the same Christopher who sat in that hotel parking lot at 3 a.m. crying and vomiting and feeling like his world had ended. That guy died that night. The person I am now is stronger, more honest, better at boundaries, less willing to ignore red flags for the sake of peace, more willing to walk away from people who don't respect me. I'm not perfect. I still have trust issues. I still have moments where I wonder if Lauren's working late or actually working late. I still catch myself checking phones and looking for signs of betrayal in normal behavior, but I'm working on it. With Dr. Chen's help, with Lauren's patience, with my own commitment to not letting Amanda's betrayal define the rest of my life. So where am I now? I'm in my house that's actually mine. I'm in a relationship with someone who communicates honestly. I'm succeeding at work. I'm reconnecting with family. I'm playing basketball again and actually enjoying it. I'm planning a 4th of July party that will be about celebration, not revenge. I'm living. And Amanda, last I heard, she was surviving. Not thriving, but surviving. Her reputation was damaged, her career stalled, her family relationships strained. She'd made her choices and was living with them. I didn't feel vindicated by that. Didn't feel satisfaction, just acknowledgement. She'd faced consequences. That was enough. Richard was off in Arizona, repeating patterns, probably heading for another spectacular implosion. Not my problem, not my concern. Claire and her kids were healing. That actually made me happy. They deserved better than what Richard had given them. As for the question everyone asks, do I believe in revenge? I believe in consequences. I believe that when someone betrays you systematically, deliberately, while looking you in the eye and lying, they've made a choice about what kind of person they want to be. And you get to make a choice about what kind of person you want to be in response. I chose to stop being the person who ignored problems for the sake of peace. I chose to stop being the person who let himself be disrespected because confrontation was uncomfortable. Did I choose revenge? Yeah, I did, and it was brutal and public and complicated. But here's what I know. Amanda and Richard didn't stop because they suddenly grew consciences. They didn't stop because they realized they were hurting people. They stopped because they got caught. They stopped because there were consequences. Without consequences, they'd still be lying. They'd still be sneaking around. They'd still be planning their future while destroying everyone around them. Someone had to stop the lying. That someone was me. The revenge didn't heal me. It bought me the space to start healing myself. It gave me justice, which isn't the same as peace, but is sometimes necessary. before you can find peace. And now, I don't think about them anymore. I think about the life I'm building, the person I'm becoming, the relationships I'm nurturing, the boundaries I'm maintaining. I think about Lauren's laugh, about my dad's pride, about my mom's relief that I'm okay, about the lake house in July and starting over. The grill cooled a long time ago. The fireworks from that July 4th are long gone. The explosion of that day has settled into memory, into lessons learned, into scars that healed into something stronger. And me? I'm just getting started. Some fires burn everything, but from the ashes you get to decide what grows. I decided to grow something better than what I had before. Something built on truth instead of lies. Something built on self-respect instead of conflict avoidance. Something built on boundaries instead of blind trust. It took a year. It took therapy. It took hard work and uncomfortable truths and moments of doubt. But I did it. And if you're out there, dealing with betrayal, wondering if you'll ever feel okay again, you will. It won't happen overnight. It won't happen the way you expect. And it'll hurt like hell for longer than you want it to. But you'll get through it. You'll rebuild. You'll become someone stronger than who you were before. That's what I learned from the lake house from July 4th, from serving divorce papers before the grill cooled. I learned that endings are also beginnings, that justice isn't healing, but it can clear the path for healing, that revenge is complicated and messy and sometimes necessary. And I learned that the best revenge isn't what you do to them. It's what you build for yourself after they're gone. That's where I am now, building, growing, living, and I'm okay with that. I'm more than okay. I'm free.